Hey guys, I want to welcome you again to the Three Circle Podcast. This is Chris Bell, and it's my honor to today be hosting the podcast, and we're glad you're here wherever you're joining us from. It's kind of hot end of July. We're recording on the last day of July, so it is scorching outside here in South Alabama, and but it's also beautiful, and I know lots of you are probably at the beach or at the lake or doing your thing, so we hope that you're having a great summer. We sure are having a good summer here at Three Circle. We've had camps, we got beach baptisms coming up, just all kinds of things to celebrate. And we've been in a series on the life of Jacob in the book of Genesis all summer. That's just been so rich and rewarding, I think, for all of us. I know for me as a teacher, it's been rewarding to walk through that and be reminded of so many of God's good graces in our lives as we look at it played out in Jacob's life, one of the great patriarchs of the Old Testament. And so we've been doing that all summer, and as always on the podcast, we like to have interesting, incredible guests. And today we got one of our guys, one of our boys, we like to say. He was with us two different stints here at Three Circle. He was a student at University of Mobile. He's multifaceted and multi-talented. He is a communicator. He is a worship leader, a singer, a creative, all that kind of stuff. And he was with us helping us with campus worship at one point. And then he went to Atlanta for a while. Then he and his bride came back and was our middle school pastor for several years and just did an incredible job, had an impact on my oldest son during his time here. And then he walked into my office a few years ago and said, I feel like God's calling me to plant a church in Las Vegas. There's a whole big story there. We're going to get into it today. So would you, just welcome, like you can just clap right there where you are. If you're in your car or on your porch, you can just clap. Let's welcome to the podcast, my buddy, Jack Diven.
Hey. Thanks for the generous and kind intro, Pastor Chris.
There we go. It's good to have you here today, Jack. And you were on stage for those who were either watching online or they were in the Fairhope campus or Robertsdale. They got to see you and your wife, and you guys were talking about the church plant. You've been out there coming up on 2 years now, right?
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you're getting ready to actually, people may not understand how the church planting thing goes, but we're part of a network called the SEND, S-E-N-D network.
Right.
And Three Circle is kind of at the forefront of that with a group of other churches, and I'm a part of it. And the whole thing is we're trying to plant gospel, life-giving churches across North America. North America is one of the only places in the world, Jack, as you know, that Christianity is actually shrinking.
Yeah,
it's insane. Like the other places is exploding. So we have a job to do right here in North America, and so we're trying to do that. And you got the bug, man. You got the call to go to Vegas. And so, Jack, number one, tell us what would make someone like you, because you had a really good gig here, man.
Oh yeah, no doubt about that.
It was rocking and rolling, and we had plans for you for the future and all of that. And you came in and threw all that on the table, right. And said, "We got to go." And so, what would make a guy like you go to Las Vegas, a city that you don't know, a city that you had no connection to? Why would you do that?
Yeah, Pastor Chris. Before I address that, sorry, I sometimes I'll deviate just a little bit, but just to say, the people that are listening to this, you guys have the best pastor in the world, and I mean that. My pastor, so grateful. I owe you so much, Pastor Chris. I want to say everything, but I attribute it to the Lord, a lot of the things that God has done in my life. But man, what a vessel, what a conduit. We talked about conduits last night.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything you've done.
It's my honor, man.
And also, people probably listen to this podcast. I don't know if you know this, but just to hear your voice, it's the most buttery thing. If you were listening to this on YouTube, you'd see us with some headphones on.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting here like, this guy has got the most radio voice of all time.
That's hilarious.
I would listen to you.
I got a little, there's a little Gulf Coast Southern accent on the end of it, though.
Hey,
You know what I mean?
it's
So
perfect. It's perfect. Okay, church planting.
church planting. Yes. So and by the way, that's a huge honor. One of the great passions of my life, as you know, is developing leaders. And I've had the unbelievable honor of being a part of some amazing people's journeys. And you're one of them. And we're just proud of you, man. We're proud of you here. We're celebrating you. And you're about to launch, and just can't wait to see you.
Right.
You know, you fly, man. It's going to be incredible. So again, you know, because I think people think, why? Wow, and it is hard. It's probably been one of the hardest 2 years of your life, just getting ready to launch.
That's right.
But what made you go Vegas?
Yeah. So, you know, at Three Circle, I learned so much, and one of the things that I learned, God took me through. I call it a renaissance of prayer in my life. It's like of course, I knew how to pray when I got here, but God just drove that stake deeper into the ground in my life. I needed it. I needed to hear His voice in my life, and so I went through a season. It probably lasted about 9 months, and where I would get in the prayer room, so to speak, and stay until I felt like God had spoken to me that day.
And this was before.
This is while I'm at Three Circle. So we're sitting in these rooms right here. These are this stuff is happening in these rooms while I'm here. And you know, I did get the sense, you talk about a good gig. I mean, you talk about a good gig. This place is the kind of place you come and you just never leave, because it feels like you got lucky that you got to be on a staff like this, and I mean that.
I feel the same way.
Yeah,
I really do.
It's a real thing, and that's what people don't leave all the time.
But you did. You did leave.
Yeah, I think you're. I got to a point in those moments in prayer where I realized that God was about to do something. I actually thought it was at Three Circle. Wanted it to be at Three Circle. I thought, okay, maybe, I think God, I don't know what it is, but I think something is about to happen.
Yeah, you know, I remember during that time, before you came in and told me that you guys were called to Vegas, you know, we had some big things that you and I were talking about creatively, you know, that we were going to unroll. I don't know if you remember, we were talking about a commercial that we kind of wanted to shoot. Do you remember that conversation? And we had some really cool concepts that we were kicking around, and we were dreaming about what would it look like to have that being played at ball games and that kind of thing, and just trying to create a culture for middle school students. And of course you were a major part of building the foundation of what we're doing now. But I remember that. I remember thinking, we've got some big things coming up, but man, God was stirring your heart in a different way.
Yeah. And you know, one day in the prayer room, you know, that posture, right? I'm staying here until you speak, Lord. I had like nothing I had ever experienced before, like an impression on my heart, you know, something that God just hit me with. And I'll never forget, it was like, pray for your church. And I didn't even know what that meant. I actually started praying for Three Circle, but it was just so compelling. It was so, there was something about it that was just, I couldn't shake it. And then that's when I realized, I think God is calling me to start a new church. I didn't know where. I didn't know. So
you did not know where at that point?
Oh no, I was just, you know, I was scared of that.
Had you ever been to Vegas at that point?
I hadn't been to Vegas. The only reason I wound up in Vegas to go and see it, I went out there to go hang out with a friend. Legitimately, no, like, let me go check out this city to see if I knew that the church planting thing was there. But I'll tell you what, while I was there, my heart just got broken for that place. Saw the loneliness in people's eyes, and I went out to the strip, just, you know, singing it, and just kind of surveyed the city and was just like, this place needs a church, man. This place needs this place needs something that it doesn't have right now. And that was when I felt like God had put Vegas specifically on our hearts. And so then I came home and talked to Kayla about it.
Yeah. And what was your wife's initial reaction?
So Kayla, to her credit, she is the kind of person. She truly is the kind of person that is, and this is one of the greatest things about her. She's the kind of person that is, God, wherever you want me to go, I'll go. She'll
Mm.
go. There was a moment where she was, about an inch away from going and living in, a small hut in Guatemala, to teach ESL and go
Wow.
on, be a missionary. And so she's ready for that sort of adventure. Although I don't think she expected Vegas at all. She was willing to say, Jack, I'll go wherever you are, you believe we're called to go, which is kind of in one sense, I was like, okay, that's great that you have that posture, but I was like, I think this is the kind of move that I don't want to make unless if you're sure God is speaking directly to
Uh-huh.
you as well. And so she has her own story, where God was moving and stirring in her heart, and soon it became just so clear that that we were supposed to do that, and that was all happening like right within the week
Mm-hmm.
of the moment where I came in and talked to you in your office
Yes.
about it, which was one of the most nerve-wracking conversations I ever had to have, at least leading up to it. You were so gracious and understanding, which I knew you would be, but I was pretty nervous.
Yeah, I mean, when you walked out of the office, I threw stuff around. Yeah, I just tore the office up. Threw my couch around.
Yeah.
Mad.
You were upset. I could tell.
No,
Oh,
man. I always feel like if someone leaves us, my hope is, number one, no one belongs to me, man, including
Yeah.
this church. And so if someone does not stay with us long term, my hope is that their time here prepared them for what was coming next, and that they would
Yeah.
always look back on it and go, oh, wow, that helped me, that prepared me. And so we certainly hope that's the case for you. But I could tell the sincerity when you came in, and then we began the process, and people may not understand the process of planting a church. You can either just go out and do it, which
Right.
you're smart enough to know I need some training and get ready. And the network we're part of, the Send Network, has this incredible, this foundation and this process and this sequence that they try to train guys and get you as prepared as you can be. And
Yeah.
that's what you've been doing. And things kind of started with, you started doing small groups. And
right.
so tell us, as we prepare, when is launch date for the church, or I say the church, the meeting, the actual gathering. And then also, tell us kind of what's happening now, because I know right now you kind of have a core group.
Yeah.
So give us a snapshot of where things are.
Yeah. People don't know that when you're a part of a church like Three Circle, you are on the forefront, the front of a church planting movement over the last 10 years. The Send Network, which your pastor is highly a key leader in developing this network. This network planted over 10,000 churches in the last 10 years. And so this is a huge movement of growth and church planting over North America. And you hinted on it at the beginning. It's needed because we're trying to North America is one of the only places that the church isn't exploding.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to outpace some of the decline of Christianity in North America, which is a whole other thing, but grateful that you are at the pinnacle of that, as you should be, of that movement, Pastor Chris. As far as where we're at, we got, people don't understand, and not that they would, it's nothing wrong with it, but planting a church, starting a church, especially in a space like Las Vegas, where 92% of it is unchurched, you have, and the people that are churched, they're all, almost every one of them, a first generation believer, which means that everything that they know about church was basically taught to them by a church, not from generational Christianity.
Right.
And so you go into a spot like that and you don't know anybody. And so you don't know anybody, and you don't know anybody's intentions either. And so what you learn is I'm like a fast pace, I want to go and get it done kind of person. And so, but what we learned was we really have to understand who people are first, so that when we have people that are close to us, we don't get burned
Okay.
by that. And that's taken some time, but by God's grace, and we have seen God's goodness in the land of the living over the past, really 18 months, 20 months. And now we have a core group, which is, when we say core group, it's different really than, the amount of people that are in the mix. But when we say core group, we're talking about people that are committed to pray, committed to give, committed to connect. So be around the people of God whenever we're gathered, and also to lead and be developed for leadership.
Okay.
And so when we say core group, that's the people that identify with us on a pretty deep level. And that group's around 40
Wow.
between 40 and 45, and I'm only hazy a little bit on the number because we've had 10 added to that in the last 2.5 weeks.
Wow, that's great.
Which is incredible. God has been moving. And so our goal is through coaching and through Send Network training and through all of this stuff, we know that group's got to get to about 50 in order to launch really well, to start really well, to have a properly functioning hospital, so to speak, for when people come in, they can actually receive the type of ministry, the care that they actually need. You need about 50 core group people, and so we're really close to that, which is great because we're launching on September 22nd,
Right?
And that's just a short time away. And man, we couldn't be
here
more
before
excited.
you know it.
I know,
and you've got a space,
got
a place that you're going to be in.
Yeah, God's been good to us with that as well. We have a school that's beautiful. It's called Amplis Academy. If you happen to be listening to this in Las Vegas, come out to Amplis on Sunday mornings. But it's a beautiful space. We got a great team we do some load in, load out every Sunday.
So you're in the space now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're in it. And that's the other thing too. It's not as if we've been meeting, we've been meeting once a month since February. And then we have villages, which is our terminology for small groups that meet throughout the city. We got 3 of them right now, essentially 2 of them officially. One of them's kind of just popping up in the central part of the city, and they meet every week. And so there's the large group gathering that's coming together once a month, and then after September 22nd, it'll be every week, full blown. Let's go! Church is happening. But we also have a space where you can really find your family in the city, which is part of what we came to address was loneliness. Like we see, like it is statistically one of the most lonely cities in the U.S. Yes.
Why? What do you attribute that to?
I think people come into the city chasing a dream or chasing, we talked about hedonism a little bit last night. We talked about people just chasing what
pleasure.
They think is going to make them happy, pleasure, whatever that form takes in the individual person. They chase that to Vegas. They realize that they don't find it, obviously, because Jesus is the fixation of our soul. And so when they don't find that in Vegas, which is pretty easy because there's not enough churches out in Vegas,
right?
They go in there chasing the money. They go in there chasing the girl. They go in there chasing the dream.
And they find that it didn't, even if they get it, even if they achieve it, it leaves them empty.
That's right. And so they left everything to come and get it. They left their family. They left, a lot of people will leave their marriages. People will go and leave everything that they had to come and get it. And they're empty, and they wind up being lonely and in search of something and not really knowing where to go. It's one of the reasons why Las Vegas is one of the most transient cities as well. In
and out. Huh?
And people come and are most likely to leave within 18 months.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a transient city. It's a lonely city.
It's a tough place.
It's a tough
So
place.
you are, and there's a lot of guys out there, because I went out, I think it's been 8 or 9 years ago.
Wow.
Myself and a group of pastors, we called ourselves the Mobile Mafia, is what Vance Pittman called
I
us,
love
and
it.
we flew out to Vegas. We met Hayden and
Yep.
and a group of other pastors, and my heart kind of caught on fire for
Mhm.
Vegas. So we've been involved in Vegas all these years.
Mhm.
Never did I realize that God was going to send one of our guys out there with you, and so I saw the same thing you're seeing,
Yeah.
when I went there. And of course, my good friend, the president of the Sin Network, Vance Pittman, he's preached here.
Mhm.
He's an Alabama guy who
Yeah.
moved out there, and he has a deeper accent than I do.
Yes, he does.
And he
Still
went,
does.
yeah, and he rolled into Vegas, and just that amazing story of Hope Church and what
Yeah.
what God did there. So you're a part of a movement, truly, and our
Yeah.
church is, and in a very dark place. Do you know the percentage now of what we would consider that city as far as unchurched goes? Is it 94,
It's
95,
it's
92?
92% so far as I know, but the uh the population has grown by 1 million people in just the last, so from 2 to 3 million people here recently. And so I haven't gotten an updated number since 92%, but I don't think most of those million wound up
Yeah, in
getting
a church.
planted in
Yeah,
a church. And so it's
right.
likely
And I
higher.
know they just got an NFL team, so Vegas
Hmm.
is really, coming along.
Oh yeah.
So, do you see, Jack? What does the next 2 to 3 years look like for you as a church planter in Vegas? What are you dreaming about? What do you see
Hmm.
happening with your church?
Yeah. Right now we're in a season. It's actually great. One of the reasons why we came into Three Circle this week is to do some vision planning for 2025. And so right now we're in launch mode. It's all hands on deck. It's get that core group 50, plant the thing and see what God will do from there. And looking at the next 3 years, what do I want to see? What I want to see is a regional church planting influential hub that can be a place where church planters land, that we send people out into the West. I want to see a a revival tide come from west to east. But man, I do think so that's where we want to end. I don't know if that's in 3 years. I don't want to try and limit what God could do in
Sure.
3 years. But I will say one of the things that we are discerning through in this season, now that we're close to launch, it's like, okay, after we've taken that hill and put our flag in the ground, okay, we're a church now. We're looking for a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal. What is
Yeah.
that going to be for us? And we do have some ideas around that. I think, some of that, is going to certainly be revolving around church planting, because
Yeah.
it's so near and dear to me. But also, one of the things that's just, it's just real about Vegas is it's a place where a lot of sex trafficking happens.
Okay.
And I don't know what answer or solution your church can be in the city for that, but it's near and dear to my heart. And so we're actively trying to figure out, how do we fit as a puzzle piece to the solution to that problem in the city.
Wow. So you're looking to solve some problems that are there, to be the
Yeah.
hands and feet of Jesus. That's huge, man.
Yeah.
So for our listeners out there now, hopefully they're going, "Oh wow, we're a part of this. Three Circles a part of
Yes.
this. We've been a part of sending you out." Talk to us though about, because you're just a real guy. At the end of the day, you're not when you get called to plant a church, God doesn't suddenly give you the Infinity Stones and you're now a superhero and an Avenger.
No.
You're still trying to be a husband. You're trying
Right.
you're trying to walk with Christ yourself.
Mhm.
You're trying to lead your children, and you're a dad, and it's hard. It's really hard. And so tell us a little bit about your spiritual life, your spiritual disciplines, Jack. What does walking with Jesus look like for Jack Diven, the church planter, husband, dad, and just everyday dude? How do you stay close to the Lord?
Practically speaking, I wake up early and get with him. One of the things that I still do, like I was doing in these rooms, is that moment where felt like I learned how to pray, like I'm gonna stay here until God speaks. I've still carried that into these days, and I think that's one of the things that I'd encourage people to do is not only prayer. We say that when we pray, we believe that there's a God that is over all of the universe, has complete authority, has complete ability, and absolutely loves each individual person who is also on the other end of the phone. He's listening.
Yeah.
And so I've just learned to pray in such a way that's not only just lobbing my asks and the things that I want to a God that can do those things, which is a good thing. I'm not negating that. That's great. But I've also learned to come into those moments with a posture of like, okay, Father, what do you want me to know today? What do you want me to know today? And then actually just seeing if he'll impress something on me. And I'll tell you what, most of the time he does. And most of the time it has to do with who he is to me.
Okay.
Like I'll hear, I'm proud of you, or
Yeah.
I'll hear, I love you, or I'll hear, I'm not going anywhere. And those are some of the things that I internally fight. And that's like God is the Lord is stepping into those spaces for me. But another thing that I'll do, again, like there's so many ways that this can go. Clearly I read the Bible every day, and I've been.
What does that look like? Do you do a devotional? Do you walk straight through books of the Bible? Yeah. What does that look like?
Yeah. For me, I tend to read I like to read big chunks of the Bible. I do. So I'll be in the New Testament, and I'll do a chapter in the New Testament a lot of times, and then a chapter in the Old Testament. And then when I get done with the New Testament, I'll just start over at the beginning and kind of take it in that way. Right now I'm in Revelation and Psalms. And so it's kind of,
wow,
it's both worlds.
What
there.
a juxtaposition that is, man.
Yes, it is. I actually picked up the Psalms because it was like, man, some of this Revelation stuff is depressing. I'm going to go in
apocalyptic language.
I'm going to go in and receive some of this from the Psalms, and they always just...
the book of Revelation is the only book in the Bible. It's not the only book that blesses you when you read it, but it's the only one that says that it blesses you just by reading it. Even if you don't understand it, by reading this, you will be blessed.
That's right.
And so, that's pretty cool. So, it's funny how no matter who we bring on, because we're all different and unique, it really does come down to some of those common graces of God, the life, the life of the Christian in the Word and the Scriptures, the life of the believer in prayer. Those things you just can't, you know what I mean?
Right.
There's things that we're all probably different in, but we all kind of a magnetic pull brings us all back to those common things. Man can't live on bread alone, as Jesus said. We need the Word, we have to have time in the presence of the Father.
That's right.
So those things, you try to create a daily discipline for that. And so it's prayer, reading the Word. I've also dove into some sermons that I'll read, that I'll talk about it. But what I think what can be a game changer potentially for those moments is really recognizing what you are doing when you open up a Bible. Yes.
If you think about what you're doing when you open up a Bible, you're talking about the very Word of God on a page, that a God who knows everything, knows exactly what he wants to say to you through his Word in that moment, that day. And so when you open it up, he knows exactly where you are.
Right.
He knows exactly what he wants to say to you, what you're going to read, how it's going to impact all of the things going on in your mind and in your heart and in your spirit.
Right.
And so all of those things are colliding to help you live out a life that will bring about his glory and build his kingdom on earth and in that day. And so I think sometimes we can get caught up in the daily discipline of it, which is a beautiful thing. Like there's something about, like you said, common grace, like everyday basic faith, like that's a beautiful thing. But I also, on the flip side of that, sometimes it helps me to remember that I'm a small piece of a larger puzzle that God is building in this world. And when he is speaking to me through his word, through these daily disciplines, through these things that, like you said, every believer is almost like magnetically pulled to,
Right.
He's doing something bigger in my story and in the kingdom around me through those moments. And so it's not just, it's not this, but it's not just, let me get what I need today from this and then kind of go on my merry way. It's no, God is shaping and threading all of these things into a full picture, a beautiful story that he's writing in the world, and we get to be a part of that, and that amazes me.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, it's always good to hear from you, bro. And just know that 3 circles behind you, we're praying for you. We are for you.
I feel it, man.
And for your church. And we're excited about all that God's going to do. And so next time you come back, you're going to have to get on stage and bring the word for us.
Come on.
We'll
Anytime.
get you back soon, okay?
Anytime.
But we love you, man, and just loved hearing your story. And September, one more time?
September 22nd.
So everybody be praying on that day and check out social media. They can find you and follow you, Jack, on Instagram, probably best place, right?
Yeah, best place.
You have Your Church.
Yeah, Your Church, at It's Your Church on Instagram. You can also, same thing, It's Your .church on the web. And if you're looking for an excuse to come out to Vegas, come out on September 22nd. We'll be
check it out.
We'll be going hard in the paint
right.
on that Sunday, so it'll be great.
Well, awesome, man. Jack, thanks for being here. And guys, wherever you're listening, hopefully you've been inspired to hear Jack's story. All of us aren't going to be called to pick up and uproot and go to another city and a town. The idea is to be faithful right where you are.
Yes.
And if God wants to move you, he will. And he, just like he did with Jack, he made that clear. And so if he says go. If he doesn't, stay and be faithful, right? But Jack, thanks for being on. And listen, guys, we're going to be finishing up this weekend the Jacob series on the run. You're going to want to check that out if you're near a 3 Circle campus. If not, you can jump online. And we hope that the podcast today has in some way been encouraging to you. And we hope you will be with us again. Same place, same time each week. We try to roll one out right here at the 3 Circle Podcast.